So, I've got something interesting for you today. Think of it like a little detective journey. We've got two clues. They seem completely random at first, but once we put them together, they might just show us the future of how we organize, well, everything. Our thoughts, our ideas, our whole digital life.
All right, you ready? Let's dive right in. Our whole mystery kicks off with these two pieces of evidence, and they could not be more different. One is like this big vision of the future, and the other, it's this super technical sounding phrase.
Okay, so here's clue number one. Check this out. It's a celebration, right, for the year 2026. It looks bright, exciting, almost like a massive party happening over this amazing, vibrant city. But why 2026? I mean, what's so special about that specific year? Let's just hang on to that question for a minute.
And then we've got our second clue, which is a lot weirder. It's just a phrase, visual architecture of the digital notebook. I know, it sounds super academic, right? Kind of dry, maybe, but you got to trust me on this one. That phrase, it is the key that unlocks this entire thing.
So, how in the world does a futuristic party connect to some technical term about digital notebooks? That's the puzzle, right? And that's exactly what we're going to figure out right now.
Okay, to crack this, we need to start with something we all use every single day, our digital tools. Specifically, let's talk about the digital notebook of today, because for most of us, it's a very linear world.
Seriously, think about it. Pull up your Notes app on your phone or on your computer. What do you see? I'm guessing it's a long, scrolling list. Page after page, line after line, one idea just follows the next, from top to bottom. It's basically a modern version of an ancient paper scroll when you think about it.
And this really gets to the heart of the problem. This whole linear flow that we're so used to, it kind of traps our ideas in these separate little boxes, these isolated documents. Everything's just text. And it makes it almost impossible to step back and see the big picture, you know? To see how all these different thoughts and ideas might actually connect to each other. So the real question is, how do we break out of this digital filing cabinet?
And this is where our second clue, that weird phrase, comes back into play. The key to breaking free, to getting out of that filing cabinet, is all about understanding this idea of visual architecture. So let's break that down. What does it actually mean?
Okay, here's the most important thing to get. Visual architecture, it's not about making things look pretty. Not at all. It's all about structure. Just imagine, for a second, organizing all your digital info, not on a list, but in a space, giving it shape and dimension, and showing the relationships between things. Kind of like how an architect designs a physical building. This analogy is perfect, right? A physical architect, they use blueprints to design buildings that we can walk through, live in. A visual architect, they design knowledge spaces that we can think through. It's about building an actual environment for your ideas to live and breathe in. And hey, remember that vibrant city from our first clue? That's the exact feeling we're talking about here.
So, okay, once you grasp this idea of visual architecture, you can really start to see what the notebook of the future could look like. We're talking about a huge shift, moving away from that linear list and into a truly spatial world for our minds.
And this is the real game changer. I want you to picture this. You open your Notes app, but instead of a document, you see a map or a canvas. Maybe a virtual room where all your ideas are like these little objects you can move around, connect together, and just explore. We're actually seeing the very beginnings of this already, right? With tools like Miro for Teams or Obsidian for personal stuff, they let you build these amazing webs of connected notes instead of just flat pages.
Just look at the potential here. It completely flips the script. Instead of that linear flow, you get spatial organization. Instead of isolated bits of information, you get interconnected ideas. It's visually rich, not just a wall of text. And the best part? You can finally see that big picture, with just a glance. And that brings us all the way back to our first clue. The mystery is solved. That image of 2026, it's not just some random year. It's a symbol. It represents the promise of this whole new digital frontier. It's that vibrant, interconnected, spatial city for our thoughts. That's the future we're building.
So, let's bring this home. What does all this actually mean for you? Because this is so much bigger than just taking better notes. This is really about you building your own future digital space.
When it comes down to it, here's the big idea. When we change the architecture of our tools, we fundamentally change the architecture of our thinking. Moving from a boring list to an exciting space isn't just about organizing facts a little better, it's about creating a true playground for your mind, a place where you can make these unexpected connections that spark brand new insights.
That's why this stuff is so important.
And that leaves us with one last big question that I really want you to think about. If you could literally design a place for your mind, for all of your ideas, your projects, your memories, your knowledge, what would it look like? Because that's the future of your digital mind.